The novelization of The Phantom Menace was written with George Lucas's screenplay and personal thoughts. Here are notable differences. Stick around to hear the whole list, and I'll let you know which one absolutely should have made the final cut. We open on Anakin in the very pod race that Watto mentions later on in the movie, where Anakin smashes up his pod. We spend more time with Anakin's friends. They run into an old spacer with Republic insignia, but no further clue as to who he is. We learn that the Jedi Order was originally intended to be isolated from the rest of the galaxy for reflection and meditation. It took a long time for them to be more socially aware and involved. The first mention that there are 10,000 Jedi in the entire galaxy at this time. When Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan meet up on the planet surface in Naboo, Obi-Wan hasn't taken good care of his lightsaber. Qui-Gon gives a lecture that could easily be summed up as,
"This weapon is your life."
Amidala was the elected queen of Naboo for only a couple of months before the blockade started. When Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Jar Jar are navigating the planet core, Jar Jar had never heard of the Force. There's a great scene between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, all about Qui-Gon's view on the Force and his sense of duty. It instills a lot of the Obi-Wan Kenobi we would get to know through the rest of the movies and into the Clone Wars. There's some narration about Anakin's intentions with the pod he's building in secret. His plan was to win all the pod races, make money, build a starship, and leave with his mother, both of them free. The 3 in C-3PO is because he makes the third member of Anakin's family. Anakin encounters a wounded Tusken Raider. He helps, thinking that's what his mom would want him to do. He then dozes off and has dreams of a future where he's a Jedi Knight fighting Tusken Raiders. As the Jedi are fleeing Naboo with Amidala and her escort, Obi-Wan tells pilot Rick Oley that the Trade Federation uses pulsar tracking for their weapon systems. Spinning the ship confuses these systems. This makes more sense later on when Anakin says, "Let's try spinning, that's a good trick." Except Anakin wasn't around to hear the information. Sidious commands Newt Gunray to kill all the high-ranking Naboo officials. This was right before Gunray tells him about Amidala escaping. After Maul is introduced, it's revealed that the Trade Federation wanted to sabotage the trade route's tax. The Neimoidians also ask each other what will happen when the Jedi find out they've been working with the Sith Lords. I found it interesting the Neimoidians knew about the Sith at all, let alone the Sith and Jedi rivalry. On Tatooine, Jar Jar goes into town with the rest because the multi-species nature of the planet. Qui-Gon thinks they'll have an easier time blending in as a mixed group. Similar to Jar Jar's involvement, Qui-Gon lets Padme accompany them, thinking a young girl will make them look like a family. She informs Qui-Gon that all the handmaidens are trained in self-defense. When Jar Jar's about to get beaten up by Sebulba and Anakin intervenes, he tells Sebulba that Jar Jar is connected to the Hutts. Qui-Gon provides capsules that create the meal for everyone at Anakin's house. I have no idea how this one could have fit in. This is all inner monologue of Darth Maul. We get backstory on the Sith. It talks about the first Sith growing the Order and the massive war that brought them back down to one, Darth Bane. When he's aging, he doesn't want the Sith to die out, so he creates the rule of 2 to keep the Order going. Qui-Gon Jinn quietly contemplates the Force, balance, and the flow of it. He thinks of the aspects of it like the living and the cosmic. He admits to himself he's too in tune with the living Force, which makes him extra empathetic. Right before the Boon to Eve pod race, Qui-Gon gives Anakin a small pep talk. He tells him to stay in the moment, feel, don't think. It's very reminiscent of Obi-Wan talking to Luke in A New Hope. After Anakin wins the race, Greedo says a slave can never win anything and Anakin must have cheated. Anakin brutally attacks Greedo. All he can think about while pummeling the Rodian is losing Padme. Qui-Gon is the one who tells Anakin the choice is set before him and he must choose. This changes the scene quite a bit. When headed to their ship, Qui-Gon destroys Darth Maul's probe. When he sees Maul, he recognizes him as a Sith, something Qui-Gon thought extinct. When Qui-Gon tells the Council about Anakin, he refers to him as a virgin in the Force and says he may have been born of the Force. The prophecy is stated as the Chosen One will alter the Force forever. Mace Windu is the one who says he'll bring balance. The age cap for training a prospective Jedi was 1 year old. Most younglings were identified within 6 months of birth. The Council denies Anakin's training, but before they head back to Naboo, Yoda says they'll make a final decision at another time, leaving it open-ended. Anakin and Padme get to talk while they wait for Jar Jar to contact the Gungans. This scene also gives Obi-Wan time to digest Qui-Gon trying to take on Anakin as a Padawan. It hurt his feelings more than the movie lets on. R2-D2 was the first to figure out the whole Padme and Queen body double thing. When Sidious and Gunray talk about the upcoming battle, Maul's convinced that the Jedi are plotting something. A career general in the Gungan army tells Jar Jar, very coldly, to set an example and die well. That's pretty brutal. Anakin watched Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan mend their relationship. He admired their dynamic. He felt some relief since he was the cause of the conflict. Anakin vows he's going to keep everyone safe in the battle. Maul assumes it was the Jedi who came up with the plan for Padme and a small contingent to infiltrate the palace. The narration says Qui-Gon is one of the best swordsmen in the Order. Qui-Gon believes that Obi-Wan will someday surpass him. After Qui-Gon falls, Obi-Wan is getting tired fighting Maul. He's losing ground. He remembers words of wisdom Qui-Gon shared with him earlier in the story. I wonder if this is him talking through the Force like Obi-Wan to Luke in A New Hope. When Anakin's N1 crashes inside the command ship, R2 is lying to the battle droids about being the pilot to buy them time. During the Battle of Naboo, a lot of the lucky stuff, as it looked in the movie, that Anakin accomplishes is more clearly attributed to his intuition. Obi-Wan decided he would train Anakin regardless of the Council's decision. Yoda says the Council approves of Obi-Wan training Anakin, but Yoda makes it very clear that he, personally, thinks it's a bad idea. Sidious is angry he lost Maul. He vows the ones who killed him will pay. He thinks it'll be hard to find a new apprentice. All at once, he turns it around. He's happy and reasons he got what he wanted out of the situation. Anakin couldn't let himself be happy at the parade. He was only dwelling on the loss of Qui-Gon and his mother. He knows one day Padme or Obi-Wan will change his life. Throughout the story, there are a lot of small moments where Padme goes out of her way to talk to Anakin. The two even joke about being married one day. Anakin, not joking so much. Overall, the battle droids don't have any of the comedy or stupidity we'd see in the movie. Out of all this, I wish the conversation between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan where they discussed the Force and Qui-Gon's sense of duty made it into the movie. Lucas always had very clear visions of what the Force is. I'm always happy to learn more about it from the source. What was your favorite tidbit? Drop it down in the comments below. Check out this video next for more on the Phantom Menace.